All right. Well, hello, Calvary Episcopal Church and whoever else happens to have found our video. Welcome. This is a first in a series that I am starting called the Rector Study, where it's just an opportunity to about once a month-ish have a video that I record on a topic of interest to me or to the parish or to the community. And this is the first one. So I have with me as my guest today, I feel like I'm a talk show host for a Calvary late night show, the Reverend Deacon Josh Huber, who is soon to be just the Reverend or the Reverend Priest Josh Huber, who is going to be our new curate starting on July 1st. So welcome, Josh.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Hi, Calvary.
We're so glad. We have given ourselves permission to just be a little goofy since it's the first one. And we're just going to have fun with this. So I've got a couple of questions just for Josh. And the first one is, you were sent to seminary from Calvary. So this is a return after being at Yale for 3 years, a weird 3 years, probably, but 3 years. And I'm wondering, is there a memory of your pre-seminary days at Calvary that you remember with particular joy as you prepare to return here?
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. There are lots of memories I hold from Calvary that were helpful in this time as I, labored on through seminary under weird circumstances and missing home and whatnot. So I'll just say that in general, that just the general joy and love of Calvary was very sustaining in my time here. And I didn't expect to be coming back necessarily. I didn't think that'd be an option on the table. So it's a really, it's quite a delight to be able to have that come full circle and be able to go away and come right back. So the one that sticks out to me, though, in terms of a memory, and it's actually something I worked into my senior sermon at Yale Divinity School at Marquand Chapel, was the wedding of Rose and Michelle back in 2015, right after marriage equality passed. And it was a very special occasion, and it was a very hot occasion, and one that could have been physically very uncomfortable. It's quite a slog, but that's not how I remember it. I remember I was invited to participate in that as a crucifer and I believe Eucharistic minister, and it was such a delight to be there. And the joy and love and just sacredness of that setting was truly memorable and something that sticks with me. And I don't think I've ever seen or been in a church that was more packed than it was for that wedding. And it was, I believe, July, so it was ridiculously hot. The air conditioner couldn't keep up with all the joy, I guess is one way of phrasing it.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
The joy was pouring out of us because it was but that's what comes to mind. The sermon where this kind of came out or was part of was actually called I believe Jesus, the Joy of God. And so it was really just about a reminder of God's joy and reminding my fellow students in the midst of a very difficult and weird year, which has been this year and a couple of years in a row here, that reminding us of the joy that sustains us and the people who have given us joy and invested joy in our lives and take joy in us. So that's what sticks out to me.
Oh, that's a beautiful memory. And I can imagine that with Rose and Michelle at this as the focal point there, that it would be joyful. And I want to hear that sermon someday. So absolutely. I hope you still have it.
I have a recording.
Yeah. Right. Everything is recorded anymore, isn't it?
Right. Yes.
Well, another thing I'm curious about, Josh, is what prayer practices sustain you or have sustained you in the past that are keeping you going, that are keeping that joy of God, that joy of Jesus alive?
Several. I think in my time here, I was blessedly required to attend morning prayer every day. And so that was one. At one point during the pandemic, with online capabilities, and supervise ministry alongside of the Berkeley Divinity School, which is the Episcopal Seminary at Yale. With those requirements, I was often doing morning prayer twice a day during the weekdays, and so
Wow.
well, if I didn't get it the first time around, I got it the next time
Right.
around, so that was nice. But joking aside, I found that the routine, the practice of morning prayer was very sustaining and grounding for me. I didn't always like it. I didn't always enjoy it in the moment, to be honest. So for those who struggle with that, there were many mornings where I was just like, all right, we need to get through this. But I think overall, my experience of it was something that kind of centered me, and it rooted me in engagement with the scripture and in prayer with other people. And it seemed very important. And I think it'll be something that I look back on as being quite important. So I'm looking forward to, finding ways at Calvary to pray with others and to delve into the treasures of prayer we have in our tradition and other traditions. So that kind of communal prayer I found to be very grounding. And I guess another service, I've really enjoyed Compline services. Those have mostly been online. I did a couple with Calvary, and I did some with the campus ministry here, Episcopal Church at Yale. And those often didn't have the most people. They weren't glamorous or anything, but it's a really short, sweet service. And it's something that I feel like of all the services I've done online, it benefits or either loses the least or benefits the most from being online, and particularly from being able to do it from your home space, because the focus of it is so much, it's time to go to sleep. God help me not to die while we're sleeping.
Right.
Some of the praying, but watch over us, because we're doing this weird thing called sleep. And I think because it's so short, because the home environment can be really beneficial to it. I think it works well as an online service, and so I really enjoyed that. So aside from that kind of communal online praying, I find personal, more ad hoc or spontaneous praying to be important. I like to say some sort of short prayer first thing in the morning, and then just praying throughout my day as things come to my mind. Recently, I've gotten a lot of, and I'd say since the pandemic, especially, I've gotten a lot of benefit from walking and praying, because I like to walk, and I think sometimes the sitting and not moving so much in prayer, it can be difficult. So getting some more movement into it can be helpful. And then another way I think I pray, or is helpful for me to pray, is writing. And getting either writing ideas or both directly in terms of writing out prayers, and indirectly in terms of I find I connect to God or the divine in a powerful way through writing, and that sort of engagement with the world around me.
Yeah. That's neat. When you said about the help us to not die with Compline, it reminded me of being on retreat at the Society of St. John the Evangelist. And oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name, but he had been a superior at one point. I'll have to come back to it. But he said, he was leading us, and he said, well, I'll see you tomorrow morning. If, we should all be so fortunate as to wake up and not, make it another day. And I was like kind of horrified, because there was one of our members who was older, who was, I didn't know him. He was the brother of someone. I'm like, I'm not really sure that, like, how terrible would you feel? And then we went on for a couple of days, I thought, yeah, that's right. Like, tomorrow is not guaranteed by any stretch of the imagination. And so, we take it for granted, but it's not a guarantee. So
that's wonderful. There was I think Calvary member, I believe they've moved away, but John and Morgan Owen, and John would often pray, as I recall, something like, he would begin his prayer something like, Lord, thank you for waking us up this morning alive and in our right minds. And it just, not in just in a very matter of fact, like, this is a basic gratitude for being able to wake up again and have another day. So
Yeah.
That stuck with me.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been back 2013, 2014. And the way he said, thank you for giving me as much as one more day to serve you. And so, and I've kept that since, that 7-8 years since. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned writing and prayer, and you've also mentioned in your biography that you're a writer and a poet. And I'm just wondering, what's your writing process, or what's your habit? Do you write when you're inspired? Do you have a discipline? What is that like for you?
I would say the discipline is rather haphazard, which makes it less disciplined.
Right. Yeah.
But I've not generally been successful at being like, I'm going to write for 30 minutes at this time or an hour at this time. I know a lot of folks do that and do that well, and I admire that. My writing tends to be more spontaneous and more in the moment and following my inspiration. For a long time, I guess probably 7 or 8 years, I've had the practice of either carrying a small notebook around or using the notes app on my phone when I wanted to write something down. I like the small notebook, but the notes app is very convenient.
Yeah.
And it's less weird. So I guess by that I mean it's less noticeable when you're out and about and you just like whip out a notebook and start writing things down. People are like, "Who's this guy? What's he gonna do? Why is he writing things down?" So I find the notes app is my preferred writing method would be longhand, but the notes app is both less intrusive because people are on their phone and they don't know what you're doing on there,
right?
And more convenient and practical in terms of if I write something on there, I can just copy and paste it rather than I have to decipher my own handwriting the other way. So that's like a pragmatic thing in terms of writing. And I think I write best often when I'm writing in my day, just in throughout the days in little short bursts. A recent essay I wrote for a creative nonfiction class was I wanted to write an essay reflecting on faith and what I believe and how I interact with faith, and I didn't really have a way in until I decided I was just going to write while I walked on my phone. So that got back into the weird territory, but I was just wandering around New Haven and I would write these little blurbs whenever I was walking, and I found that helpful. It was both it became kind of a meditative and prayerful practice, and I think it worked really well. It generated a whole bunch of content that I was able to, work into a passable essay that I enjoyed the essay. And I think it was a practice that I was like, oh, I could do more of this. It reminded me of the importance of, being alert and aware and paying attention to the world around you. So I really like that. Otherwise, I often write in church, or in the past I have. That's less gonna be a possibility, or it's been less a possibility since the more involved you get in the service, the less opportunity you have to write, it feels like. But I find sermons, especially long sermons, just to be very generative in terms of writing. So if I ever find myself in an evangelical church where they're going on for 45 minutes, I'm ready. So
there you go. Well, if you happen to be across the way from me, or if I'm in the pulpit and I hear you scribbling one day, I'll just know that that's part of your creative process.
It's part of my process. I enjoy. Often it's something that's said in the sermon. Sometimes it's indirectly related. I think a secondary benefit of the homily or the sermon is that you can get into a headspace that is not really completely related to what's going on in the sermon, but it allows you like a place to think and to kind of even at times for your mind to wander a little bit. That can be helpful. It's not helpful for hearing the sermon, but it's like a silver lining if you happen to zone out. Is like you can go to some very fun places, I have found. So
Well, the
Um,
Spirit works in those moments, right? And isn't it
right.
an Acts where Paul is preaching and then somebody just falls out of the window because they've
Yeah.
fallen asleep?
He
So,
falls out and dies, and then Paul has to, I think, raise him from the dead. And I think the kicker of that story is they go back in and Paul continues preaching
right.
or teaching.
Yeah, it's like Paul didn't take the hint.
He doesn't take, yeah. You just killed the guy, Paul.
Yeah. You're killing me, Paul. You're killing me.
You literally bored him to death. Yeah. So I think that's, yeah. I also, I guess I would say one more thing in terms of writing and poetry. I have found that as much as writing and like writing poetry or prose is often a solitary exercise or pursuit. I think it's tremendously beneficial to have other people who are also writers, or just general people who give you feedback and who read it and engage with it. I generally have found that I can only get a poem or an essay to a certain point before I'm like, I need somebody to read this and tell me if it's what's working, what's not working, or what they, just give some feedback so I have some idea of where to go with it, or what might not, what opportunities there are, or what challenges are jumping up for them. So yeah.
So you seek opportunities for feedback and interaction in that process.
Yeah, as much as possible. Whether, in school, that's been classes, that's been really great because it's built in, and also the pressure to actually write something is built in. So that's extra good. But I'm hoping to continue with the writing group even on into the future to kind of, have that some sort of structure that with the chance for feedback and that close the feedback loop in some ways. So it's not just me writing on the page and being like, okay.
Yeah. I briefly, and then the pandemic hit and I just wasn't up for another Zoom, but in St. Petersburg, there was something called Keep St. Pete Lit, started by a former newspaper article or newspaper writer, I don't remember, but and it was that opportunity. They had a poetry one, they had a fiction and nonfiction one, or a prose one, and you could come in and workshop your materials, and it was really cool. I was going to go the first time to see what it was like and then bring something the next time, and I never went back because of COVID. But if there's not something here, maybe that's your calling outside or inside of Calvary to get. So that's not a suggestion, by the way. It was just that's me kind of in with my stream of consciousness. So. Well, I have one more question that is the most important of all, and that is Marvel, Star Wars, or none of the above, something else.
Marvel, Star Wars. You didn't even do the normal Marvel or DC.
I didn't. Well, I don't. Yeah.
Okay, I will take that as a hint on your opinion of DC.
Or that could fit into the or something else.
Or something else. Okay.
What's your franchise really, or do you watch movies and those?
Oh, I do watch movies. Yeah, I would say I like Marvel. Marvel and Star Wars are hard to compare. I think I'd lean towards Marvel. There's just like a lot going on. I like the fact that it includes kind of an earthly home base, whereas Star Wars is completely out in another galaxy far, far away.
Right.
Marvel has the galaxy far, far away, but it also does a lot of its focus is on Earth. So I kind of like that. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Cool. All right. Well, I have a habit of making reference to any number of movies in my sermons, and I also sneak in little Easter eggs even if it's not a big. So I'm going to start a contest, like who can find the Easter egg from Anne's sermon for this week. Okay. I had a Princess Bride one in this last weekend's sermon.
Oh, nice.
If anybody caught it, they didn't mention it, but. That's a total non sequitur but anyway. Well, this has been fun. We are so looking forward to you being here with us for your ordination on the 18th of June at 10 a.m. and then beginning your ministry in earnest on the 1st, or continuing your ministry here really on July 1st. So thanks so much for being the guinea pig for this whatever thing this video
Yeah,
series this is going to turn
absolutely.
into.
Thank
So,
you for having me, and I'm glad I get to be on the inaugural video here, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody soon.
all right. Well, take care, everybody.